Hello everyone. This is AS Masters, and today we're making a wallet with laser engraving, from crazy horse leather, in a beautiful whiskey shade. Unfortunately, the camera doesn't quite capture the full beauty of this leather. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to click the bell so you get notifications about new videos. As you can see, I've already prepared the leather. Almost everything has been cut. But I left a few details unfinished. Because I want to share some tips on how I work with certain pieces of leather. Here's a leftover strip from lining leather. I'll use it for the inner part of the wallet. Other leftovers will also be used for the lining. I'll explain everything as we go through the process. Let me show you a little trick for making clean and smooth folds on the edges. There are two ways to do it. One is using scissors. The other, using a corner punch. This is a set of punches. You pick the one that fits. Place it carefully. If the result looks good, we move forward. Once punched, you get these clean, rounded corners. After that, we trim the piece to its final shape. And here's what we get. A nice, even piece, as clean as possible. You can also use scissors, but it's much harder to get such clean results with them. This part is done. Looks neat and tidy. Let's move to the next step. We need to cut the card slots. Check the cuts. Make sure they're straight. You can leave a small part uncut and finish it with scissors. I also use a round punch to make those inner corners smooth and clean. Now, time to punch the stitching holes. We'll do a full round of punching all along the outline. This means every piece needs to be punched and prepared. Once you punch one part, it's important to mark everything else carefully. That way, your stitching will line up perfectly. I say this in every video: precision is everything. I use a special tool for that. It really helps. But even then, you might still have slight deviations, so I always use a few tools and double-check the measurements. I recommend punching exactly where the actual stitching will go, from one side to the other. This section connects several layers of leather. After punching one side, you do the same with the other. There are areas we won't be stitching, so we won't punch those. This is the most important part, because it connects three separate leather pieces at once. After punching here, we punch from this point to this one. Here we don't punch anything because it's simply not needed. I also recommend relieving tension right here on the inside, between the card holder and the coin pocket, right in the middle. I have a very simple method for that. You just line it up like this and mark the area. That's approximately where you need to relieve the tension. You can do it with scissors, a regular punch, or a special punch like this one. And now, the tension is relieved. When we start folding it later, if there's no built-up tension, it'll be much easier to work with. The leather won't stretch as much. This piece here is going to be our future coin pocket. Just a piece of leather for now. Eventually, it's going to look like this. That's roughly how it will appear when finished. I recommend stepping in about half a centimeter from the already punched holes. What else do we need? We need to figure out what height to punch this part at. To do that, we place the leather approximately where it's going to be stitched. Then we fold it, just like it'll be when assembled. Press it gently. Line it up as precisely as possible, and what do we get? We get an approximate point for the final punching. Once we've punched all the main holes, we move to the next stage. You might have wondered from the start, what is this part for? The answer is simple. It's used to make the coin pocket. These little pieces go right inside the coin section. They're also punched and stitched the same way. You can lay them in like this to make sure everything stays aligned. They're there so cards don't fall through, and to keep them in place, even as the leather stretches over time. We'll need to attach this kind of strap. It could be wider or narrower. I already had this one cut, so I'm using it. To attach it, we'll stitch it right here. I'm using contact adhesive, specifically earth glue. That's what I use for all my leather goods. And it works for this too. You can also use double-sided tape to help it stay in place and not fall off. The main thing is that it holds securely. To make it stay in place, we first glue it, then stitch it. While that was drying, I prepared needles with thread. And now, we stitch. Alright, we've stitched it. Glued it down. We place the card in. The card fits well, so we wait a little. Let it dry just a bit. And then, we stitch it again. Naturally, the next pocket is just the continuation of the second stage. We do exactly the same thing. Position the card at the same level. Apply glue here. Stick it down, and stitch again. Once we finish those two stages, by attaching this section, and stitching these parts, which are essentially the same step repeated, we move on to the third stage, which is the simplest part of this section. We need to leave space for this extra card. To do that, we just glue this piece down. We'll stitch it later. So there's no need to overthink this part. That's why it's the easiest step. Just glue the strap down, and cut it to size. Now we move on to the next part. Back to our cards again. Check to make sure everything is aligned. Cards should fit in nicely. Everything should look good. First, we glue everything properly. You don't have to glue the center. The most important part is the edges. Make sure the edges are glued firmly, so there are no gaps or misalignments. Definitely glue along this edge. No exceptions. Then press it all together. Right away, while it's fresh. Next, we've got a very interesting step. It's time to install the snaps. And here comes another nice part, stitching the strap itself. To make it clean and neat, we start by stitching the coin pocket, from one side to the other. Stitch across this section. Then stitch this part here. And attach the folded edges from the pocket to it. And just like that, we've sewn the coin pocket. Here's how it looks. Thanks to this, we have a neat little compartment. We close the snap. And voila! A hidden pocket. An extra one. Next step. We attach this piece right here. It's already glued. We trimmed it down and punched fresh holes. We already stitched this part. Now all that's left is to sew this piece here. And at the same time, finish sewing the entire wallet. Which is exactly what we're going to do now. And here it is, the finished wallet sewing process. Look what we got. We ended up with a wallet like this. Beautiful. I want to point out, this part here is done intentionally. So it doesn't come apart, and holds firmly. Next, let's take a look. The snaps. Very nice. Here you might want to paint over it with something, if you want, or you can leave it as is. Remember, we have one hidden pocket here. And a second hidden pocket. A compartment for coins. Here I always use thin leather. And the main section. Also, this wallet will go through laser engraving. So I'll show you the results once the laser engraving is done. This beauty will be engraved. Just a little more, and it'll be finished. Our engraving is almost done. You can already see the pattern. And here is the beautiful result we get. So, that's the beauty we've created. Don't forget to subscribe. Leave comments. Tell me if you liked it or not. And ask your questions.